you very much, Dr. Vibha. So at the outset, I congratulate Agrovision for arranging such a aptly timed and important session where we are discussing about the current status and shift in the paradigm of research and development. As expected, I could see a lot of deliberations are happening because I just peeped into the session after my class is over. I could see a lot of interaction happening between the speakers with the intervention moderation by the chairman. So really it is a topic of a lot of importance. No wonder even political leadership has the will to make it function. There are several schemes that government is interested in pushing them. Some of these things we will discuss during this today's session. So today I have several of my able and learned members of the panel. So who has made their mark in different walks of career. So I will welcome all of them. I have Dr. Saravanan, Director Manage, and I have Dr. Anantaram, Director IICPT, and I have Dr. Sanjeev Majumdar, Manager NRDC, and Dr. Kumar. I think it's Kumar only. Did I spell properly? Please excuse me if it is last letter of the word I couldn't make out. So it's Kumar only, no?
Yes, sir. It's Dr. R. Kumar.
Dr. R. Kumar, yes. So scientist, senior scientist at DRDO. So I welcome all of them. And Dr. Kumar has some other commitments immediately after this session. So he has made a request that whether he can be entertained, he can be opening the session instead of the order what I thought is Dr. Saravanan. So Dr. Kumar, hand over to you. Please initiate the discussion on the food processing and paradigm. As you are aware that food processing has been identified as a sunrise industry in the beginning, but as many of the earlier speakers also pointed out, the raw material was one of the major issues, proper availability of raw material. But what is heartening is even this just before COVID, there is a recession economy all over the world, but still food industry has sustained its growth. That was a very, very heartening thing to observe. And during this big accident called COVID, many industries suffered, but food survived. And in fact, food industry gained more importance because everybody realized the importance of nutrition, both for treatment of the recovery from this virus and also as an immunity against it. So these are the aspects that has happened. In this context, I will request you throw some more light from your perspective and what was the role and what is the viewpoint, what is the vision of yourself and also DRDO. Dr. Kumar.
Good afternoon, sir. Respected Dr. Raghavan, sir. Director CFTRI, ex-director, Professor now IIT Tirupati.
Yes, please.
The distinguished speakers from different academia, and on behalf of director, I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to speak on this what you call Agrovision Tech, the new R&D paradigm in food processing sector. So a little bit introduction of the DFL. We are the Defense Food Research Laboratory, comes under the DRDO, Ministry of Defense. We are under the life science cluster category. We are having 9 labs, and then mainly we focus on the research and development area in the area of development of operational rations for the armed forces. Whatever the customers are like Army, Navy, and Air Force. Of course, now we have also started working for the paramilitary forces, and then recently last 2 years we are working for the ISRO, that is the proposed manned mission, Gaganyaan mission. DFL is contributing significantly in the development of space food with suitable packaging and with the different gadgets for their manned mission. Now this March end, the Gaganyaan program, the physical training is going to start at Bangalore IIM, that is Institute of Aviation Medicine. DFL is also going to contribute in the physical training for the 4 astronauts what Government of India selected. So during this particular R&D paradigm shift, DFL contributed significantly in the field of food processing, particularly in food science technology, in the development of various convenience ready-to-eat foods, and then packaging materials, particularly the single multi-layer packaging materials. Of course, we also started working on the development of biodegradable and degradable packaging materials for the high altitude applications. And then we also developing various test kits for the quality evaluation of the fresh and processed foods in the field level, because our application, our end use for the field applications. So we focus mainly on the development of various simple test kits for the Jawans, those who are deployed in the different packets of the borders, like what you call Jammu and Kashmir, Northeastern, and other coastal areas. So this with brief introduction. So when coming to the food processing sector, because food processing sector now it becomes a very what you call a promising sector where the growth is happening, and then government of India and the countries also focusing more on the what you call the development of various technologies, various incentives to the farmers and producers, and then for the food processing industries also. So the main task of this is to provide the value addition, whereby the revenue or the income of these can be increased, and then we can reduce the spoilage and extending the shelf life of the, whether it is a fresh foods or the other commodities. So we need to develop the easy marketing and distribution tracks, because of the development of various retail and sector levels. It is coming into the food processing sectors. But still, when earlier CFTS this thing was talking, India need to grow further in terms of the food processing sector, because our growth is not that much anticipated what we are expected. So we need to increase our production. For that morning session, they were talking about the development of various suitable varieties amenable for processing, particularly tomato, potato, like that. So in terms of processing, food processing, there should be a focus on the development of high yielding varieties which are amenable for the processing. So post independence, we have seen the lot of growth in terms of the annual growth in the food processing sector. Around 10% growth we are achieved, but now still there is compared to 3.1 on the earlier era. So we expected to grow this around 3% in the coming years. So the major focus in the modern food processing is, one is to make food is safe, microbiologically, chemically to the consumer, and to provide products of the high quality. Nowadays we are talking about the fresh like product, near to fresh like natural foods, and then more to convenient, because the demographics are changing. People started working, and there are a lot of opportunities available. The per capita income is also increasing, so people are tend to go for the lot of ready to consume products. So the objective of the food processing, this is a basic information to minimize the product loss and processing cost, because we need to develop a mechanism or strategies to minimize the product loss and then processing sector. We all every time we talk about the post harvest losses around 30 to 35%, and then if we calculate the value, it is going in a lot of $1 billion, because we grow a lot of perishables, but we are unable to convert into value added products because of the lot of issues in the supply chain, lot of issues in the farm level, because there is no organized sector to take care of all this what you call converting into value addition. So ultimately the farmer is not getting the benefit expected. So we need to ensure fair share of added value to the farmer, that is a producer, and then we have to focus on the improving the technologies or the innovations. That is what the R&D institutes, academia should focus on the development of various innovations and technologies which can make way for the improving the income of the farmers. Ultimately the farmer income need to be, then only he will start growing the commodities. So we talk about all this what you call the data. India ranks number on the world production of all these commodities, and India also ranks in the world production in the rice, wheat, all those commodities. But India is ranked in the 5th world in terms of production, consumption of the and export of processed foods. Export of processed foods also, we are not only marine products and some kind of fruits we are focusing, but we need to what you call spread our export potential into various other categories also, particularly products like value added products, but particularly from the other products. So this is again how the market size is increasing. The Indian food and grocery market in the world is largest, with retail contribution of around 30% of the sales. So 32% of the food country's total food market is coming, and then 14% of the manufacturing GDP is also from the food processing sector, and 13% of the India's exports, and then 6% of total industry investment. Now people, lot of multinationals started putting investment in India, so 6% total industry investment is happening in India. Then Indian food service industry is expected to reach around 78 billion by 2022. So there is a scope for the development of this food processing sector, in particularly in terms of the different areas of the country, not only focusing in some agroclimatic conditions, we have to focus in various other areas. And then we are also witnessing the lot of this online food retail multinational companies are entering into this field. So when we are talking about the food processing major challenges, one is the seasonability of operations and low capacity utilization. When we are talking about any commodity or any agricultural producers, it's all seasonal based. Of course, it is agriculture practice, it is a seasonal, whether it is a mango or any commodity, it is a seasonal, and then low capacity utilization. These commodities, it is having a low capacity because the what you call the growth or the cultivation is not into very mega size, and then inadequate link between production and processing, because we already discussed that lack of processable varieties is the major constraint in India, where whatever the crops we are growing, we are unable to convert into value-added products. That already, like example, potato and tomato we discussed, and then supply chain infrastructure gaps, particularly in the cold chain, and then storage and distributions. So these are the challenges, and then supply chain institutional gaps. We are talking about the agriculture produce marketing area, and then procurement is depending on APMC, and then lack of product and development innovation. Here only the Indian industries, Indian what you call food and food science and technology research institution can focus on the lack of how to overcome this development innovation in the field of food processing sector, and then inadequate focus on quality and safety standards. When we are talking about the export, we need to ensure the quality compliance to different countries like US FDA or European Union. So we need to establish the standards, specifications, particularly now the agencies like Bureau of Indian Standards, FSSA, and APEDA and all, they're working, but still we have to be on par with other countries so that our products will reach the ultimate market in other countries. Then what are the food processing demand drivers? One is the demand for functional foods and nutraceuticals, because it is upcoming field, because people started looking for food not only as a basic food need, but it is also additional benefits like functionality, targeted what you call molecules or nutraceuticals, which will give additional benefits to the health of the consumer, particularly during this corona period or COVID period. We have seen the immunity boosting mechanisms through food, which can help to overcome this kind of pandemic. So now people started focusing on a lot of phytochemical plant-based materials, which will give the immunity boosters, and then increasing nuclear families and working women, because there is a demographic change is happening. People started working, so there is a need. What you call the growth is happening in the food processing sector, and then increase in spending on food products, because ultimately people started spending more on the convenience retail products, and then the change of lifestyle, urbanization is happening, and then the migration is taking place, and then growth of organized retail and private sector, because we are able to get a lot of commodities from other countries also. These are the food processing demand drivers, which will facilitate for the investment in R&D. So here again we see here in Indian food industry, it is unorganized sector majorly contributing around 42%, and then MSME, small scale industries 33%, and the organized sector is only around 23%. So there is a need to increase this organized food processing sector into above 50%, so that the what you call GDP or the growth can happen. So the value chain in the food processing, from input to production, procurement, storage, and processing and retailing. So there are a lot of what you call stakeholders are involved. So we need to provide the proper inputs like seeds, fertilizers, and then farm inputs. When we are talking about the farm equipments, mechanization the farm level, because the area of cultivation can be increased, farm holding capacity can be increased, so that the mechanization can happen, because there is a problem with the labors in the present situation. So we need to make a lot of investment or the R&D in the area of farm mechanization, and then farmers, cooperative companies can contribute in the production, and then warehouses and cold storage. The moment the crop is harvested, we need to reduce the what you call the field heat condition of some of the commodities like orange and tomato or other commodities. So we need to establish the cold storage facilities near to the growing area, particularly for the wherever these tropical summer places, and then we need to go for the primary processing or secondary processing based on the commodity, and then it will go for the value addition, and then it will go for this thing. So this is a value chain, and this slide is about how we are contributing in the different food processing sectors. So contribution from the foods, vegetables, and other marine commodities. So fish and fish products contribute around 13%, meat and meat products 18%, other commodities coming very below 10% only. So here states like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra is contributing, particularly Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka is also contributing more on the what you call the processing sector. Then Ministry of Food Processing has classified different commodities for the what you call the value addition and based on their requirements. So this is the what you call fruits and vegetables. Again, already I have spoken about these things. So here the level of processing and primary processing, secondary processing based on the commodities it is given here. But only thing we already know everything, but we need to go for the what you call kind of investment or the innovation in these areas, primary processing, secondary processing, how to reduce the time, how we can increase the involvement of mechanization, how we can go for the automation. And then again, I have told that what you call now, one of the two aspects is now Government of India is giving lot of incentives, lot of what you call facilities, 100% FDI, foreign direct investment is permitted under the automatic route, single window system for the food processing industries. And by 2024, India will attract around employment around 9 million people. So there is a growth opportunity in the these things, and significant investment is also happening in the logistic and food supply chain management of this country. So there is a scope for these things, and the waste reduction also we have to take care of these things. So what is the what we are going to have these things? We need to see opportunities, processable varieties of crop, contract farming, investment in infrastructure to public-private partnership. What the policymakers can look into this, and establishment of mega food parks. Different states now they are establishing, but we should go for the functional mega food parks where the food parks can be utilized or used by the entrepreneurs, and kind of incubation centers and logistic and cold chain infrastructure facility and food safety management system. So we also need to focus on the food safety management in these things and machinery and packaging. Particularly in India, lot of food products are traditional, and so the institutes like DFR, CFTR, and other institutes should work on the development of various indigenous machineries for the traditional foods for the large scale production, whereby the manual intervention can be avoided. Similarly, the packaging, we need to develop various multi-layer or the high barrier food packaging materials with attractive things so that it can compete with globally. So some of the technologies used in the food industry, we have these things, high pressure processing, because these are the what you call, there is a scope to develop these technologies in India, particularly high pressure processing. This all comes under non-thermal category, because TFRL and other institutes, they are working on these areas. Non-thermal processing techniques, they are having a lot of advantages, but only thing is the machineries or the equipments which are not available in India. So the Indian industry, manufacturing industry can what you can look into this aspect, whether these high pressure processing equipment, pulse electric field, this kind of equipment, whether it can be indigenously developed, fabricated, so that we need not to depend on other countries like European countries, because the cost can be brought down. So DFL is also working on the development of these HPP and PF indigenously. Already DFL and other, we are having a collaboration with some industries to develop locally this PEF and this thing, because these are having a lot of potential in this Indian market, particularly the products like functional foods, nutraceutical products, because we can be able to get the products which are very near to natural, and we can retain the functional quality of these beverages. So there is a consumer demand is there, but only thing, we don't have the equipments, one or two imported equipments only we are using. So there is a requirement to develop these high pressure processing equipment or PF indigenously, so the industry can take care. Even the freeze drying, we should have a particular indigenous freeze dryers which can meet the requirements, freeze dryer equipment, because now there are a lot of what you call advantages coming up. Even for your information, now Government of India, Indian Army is planning to introduce these freeze dried products into their supply chain management because of the added advantages. But only thing, the cost and the process cost and then equipment cost we need to reduce. So there is a scope that freeze dried products which can be introduced in this market also. These are some of the products what DFL we have developed, the freeze dried products. So we are now working on the reducing this freeze drying process by different hybridization techniques, and then we are also looking for the industry partners who can develop this freeze dryer indigenously as per our custom requirements. That we are also working on this areas, freeze drying for the Indian food products. And then PF, already I told, DFL is having the PF facility at DFRL. This we have got it from the German Institute of Technology. That what we call, this is the disadvantage is it is a batch operation. So now we are looking for the development of continuous PF system, which you can use for different other purposes. So here we are given PF, so you can get the beverages or the liquid products.
Sorry, doctor. So you may slowly wind up because already 20 minutes are over.
Another 5 minutes, sir, I'll find. So these are some of the products we have developed at DFL Mysore, and then I will come to the end these things. And there is a what you call farm mechanization in India is still in early stages, so we have to develop these things. So what you call the use of automation in food industry can be also looked into these things. And then what is the application of robots in food industry, that also here I given application include picking, packing and pelletizing. And then here particularly coming to the topic that there is a need to develop an appreciation of R&D and innovation in critical areas of foods and technology, like a novel preservation, storage technology, rheology, dispersal system, packaging polymers, and like that there are a lot of areas for the R&D scope is given. And then biosensor is also going to play a lot of role in the reduction of various pathogens. And then an electronic nose is also become very popular in the assessment of freshness of the fresh fruits and vegetables, microbial spoilage, and the antioxidant status of meat. So these are the areas where Indian industry, Indian academia can look into these things like visual INR spectroscopy. And then new practices and methods also can be developed to improve the quality of these things. So there is it can be said that India has an added advantage of huge agricultural land, and it should tap this potential favorably, and then India can become a global player in the food processing, export and other areas. So food processing is one of the sun-raising industry which offers unique opportunities in production and export of processed foods. So the only thing we need to focus on the investment in the R&D, where there are a lot of new areas are coming. Major food processing divisions with high progress potential include dairy, poultry, ready-to-eat bakery industries. We can look into this. These are some of the technologies what DFL is having. And one automation, one example, tender coconut processing, we have established a automation facility. So this is again as per the industry requirement we have established. So how we go for the industry vertical automation. And then at the end, the conclusion, in spite of the different problems, agro-processing technology in India continues to grow to steady progress, but this progress or the growth rate we have to increase. So the main focus should be directed towards minimizing the pre and post-harvest wastage, employment generation and export growth. Further, we need to establish various high-quality standard products which will meet the international requirements. This is what I can say in the 20 minutes about the requirements or the food processing R&D where we can focus on these things. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Kumar. So you have given an overview with giving the general idea of different aspects of food processing, current and future. But I have a couple of specific questions for you. Please see whether if you can explain our viewers. Defined requirement is food processing requirement is really unique. In that sense, different terrains are there, strategy is required, storage, high density foods have to be carried. They cannot have a very huge load on them. So this being the issues, so what is the special efforts that DFRL is doing in this direction?
For example, sir, for the vertical, particularly when we are talking about the armed forces food requirements, we categorize into two. One is the operational rations, another is the special rations. So special rations like around 120, 130 food products like atta, maida, milk powder, oil, sugar, everything goes. So there, the stringent what you call quality requirement is shelf-life. That we need to give minimum 9 to 12 months shelf life for these special ration items also, because during the winter the road will be cut off for 9 months in the Ladakh sector. So we are focusing on the development of various packaging, various technologies to increase the shelf life for the advanced winter stock. We call it AWS. Then for the operational rations, we have already, sir, you know that we have developed various what you call rations. We call it as an MRE, meals ready to eat rations. Earlier, we have developed only one type of MRE, which is like kind of common or universal for the entire, whether it is for Army or Navy or Air Force. But recently, last 5 years, we have developed the MREs for different terrains. Like example, for high altitude, the MRE is different. For the desert, MREs are different. For tank crew, the MREs are different, and then for the submarines, the MREs are different, and then for the marine commandos, those are going for the strategic operations, like what we call black commandos, the MREs are different. So there are a lot of requirements, there are a lot of nutritional and functional requirements. Accordingly, DFL, we have developed various rations based on the terrain and then nutritional requirements. 3,500 to 4,500 kilocalories, these rations will provide, and this shelf life of these rations are now 1 year. At present, we are giving 1 year shelf life, but now the government of India, because of these issues in the supply chain management, we are asked to develop or establish a shelf life of 24 to 36 months. Like US, the MR is having a shelf life of 5 years, but Indian troops, whether they will consume 5 years shelf life MR is a question mark. But DFL, now we started working on the MREs which will have a shelf life for 36 months. For example, if we say chapati is a component of MRE. Now DFL chapati should have a shelf life of 36 months. So accordingly, we are now working out all the technologies, techniques, and packing systems. Like that, we are working on this what we call terrain-based food requirements for the armed forces. And sir, you are aware that DFL, the retard post processing technology, this is the basic of this MREs. So we have given this technology industries, TOT, to more than 85 industries. So based on this, what we call TOTs, the Indian Army is procuring these rations from the trade directly. Around 3 lakh MREs, Army is procuring every year from the trades. And then Navy and Air Force, they procure directly from DFL because the quantity is very, very small. Whereas Army, these operational rations MRE, they are procuring from the industries to where they have taken technology from DRDO or DFL. That is a mandatory. And then DFL is also part of their quality mechanisms, because and armed forces, the food specifications are entirely different from FSSA, because we have the specification called Defense Food Specification. We call it as a DFS. So we frame the specification for all these commodities, all these products. That is about rations.
Sir, please unmute yourself. Dr. Raghav Rao, please unmute yourself.
Oh, every time I am not doing, somebody else is doing, so that's why I'm not watching at it. So another one of the ambitions, self-development goals is hunger as well as hidden hunger. So you also in your speech you mentioned about the role of nutrition.
Yes.
So is there any specific thing that DFRL is looking at, both this hunger as well as the nutritional thing? Is there any specific product? In general, yes, you mentioned that nutrition has to be improved as for the immunity of this. Any specific the product or the issue that you are taking up?
For example, sir, you have mentioned about the weight. For example, when they are going for the patrol, they call it a long range patrol and short range patrol. They carry around 26 kg of weight, like arms, ammunition, like that. Then when we are giving for the 3 days, each MRE weigh around 3 kgs. So another 9 kgs added. So now we are reducing the weight of this MRE, whereby we are providing the energy dense foods, energy dense products, which will give 3,300 or 3,500 kilocalories with some other similar kind of products. So we are working with the energy dense products, which will meet the satiety and then energy requirements without compromising their nutrition status. But the weight is a very big issue, because when they go for the operational field operation, they prefer guns and ammunition rather than food. So now Army is given a requirement. Another thing is the slow release of these what you call energy, sustained release of energy, and then energy dense food products. So DFL is working on these areas, sir.
Okay. Another thing you mentioned, raw material is seasonal all over the world. That's why it is one of the major challenges for food processing. Now, seasonal is not only in India, it is seasonal all over the place. So how others are overcoming this problem? Is it genetic engineering coming to their hand? How it is being addressed in developed nations?
As far as my understanding goes, because all the agricultural commodities are the seasonal. Only thing, after cultivation, we can keep it, store it in the cold storage or these things, and then whenever there is a demand, that product can be converted to value-added products. That is one approach. Second approach, whether the seasonal or the particular life of the perishables can be extended by suitable genetic mechanisms, that I am not that much sure how it will be addressed.
Okay, thank you. And you also mentioned there are several food parks that are available all over the place because of government funding and several interventions. But some of the information what I received is many of the food parks are not successfully functioning. So do you have any idea what are the issues? What are the challenges they face?
Sir, even Tumkur, there is a food park, and then last some 4-5 years, Tamil Nadu, they established a food park, Virudunagar, near Virudunagar, but it was closed because when we are establishing these kind of mega food parks, our approach would be we have to involve the stakeholders. Is there any what you call the industry ready to establish their facility or the industry in the food park? Just what you call establishing the food park, and then we are looking for the industries to establish. It may not be viable. So in the beginning itself, we have to identify the food industries where they will invest and then involve in the beginning itself. This approach, they should approach, change it.
Thank you. Last question. You said the high pressure processing is, I know that this DFRL has been working and we are also trying to collaborate with you. But my question is, what is your genuine opinion? Do you think it is only for the elite people, the products available in the airports, or for common man also, do you think this technology has a promise in days to come?
Sir, these technologies having a very good potential, provided if we can reduce the cost of this product cost. To reduce the product cost, first thing we should have a indigenous machinery equipment, and then we have to penetrate these products into the market, because after 5 years, after 10 years, definitely there will be a growth or there will be a demand. Earlier, even the process ready-to-eat products not entered in the market, but because of the demand, it entered. Like this, we have to make some base effort so that these kind of non-science techniques can penetrate in the market. But as far as my understanding is that people are ready to buy. Only thing, the product will be available in the market. For example, tender coconut water, we have developed the technology. It is available only in the selected cities, but in some other parts of the country is not available because people are not developing or it is not available. So people are waiting to use these products, but only we have to be able to provide availability in the every corner of the country. So the equipment we should be able to develop indigenously so that the production cost can be reduced and then it will become affordable to the consumers.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doctor. So now I'll move on to next speaker, Dr. Saravanan, who is the director of this institute managed at Hyderabad. It is again another unique institute which is more into entrepreneurial development shape. So I want Dr. Saravanan to throw light on what kind of entrepreneurship development activities that they are taking it up with respect to food processing. What is the current and what he envisages? What is his vision for the future? Dr.
So with your permission, we will leave this session, sir. With your permission. Thank you.
Please, Doctor. Thank you very much. Carry on. Thank you.
Yeah, respected Professor, Chairman, Dr. Raghava Rao, and other fellow panel members. Very good afternoon to all of you.
Good afternoon.
And, yeah, good afternoon, sir. And manage, we are doing almost more than 2.5 decades. We work with large number of stakeholders for agribusiness development. And maybe 25 years before we started for the developing the techno managers for all the industries, including food processing and other industries, techno managers. We create the MBA, postgraduate in MBA students. And the first our starting was the agribusiness, creating the techno managers. Even today we are training nearly 140 students every year, and every year 70 students, and both batches 140. Very small batch will be there, but they will be trained for the manning the agribusiness institutions, including food processing industries across the country and also globally. This program is one of the best, sectoral best program across the country. 25 years we are ensuring 100% placement for our students. Most of them come from agricultural background, most of them, and few of them come from maybe other engineering, others also, some of them through CAT and discussion they will crack in. But the students will come from 25 states across the country. This is the first starting for the agribusiness, not only food sector, complete agribusiness. We create the techno managers. Second, for something like 20 years before, in 2018 years, exactly 18 years before, in 2002, we had some started program like Agri Clinics, Agri Business Centers. Here it's a Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare PLOXIP program, even today after 18 years also. Here we train large number of agri graduates, and recently we added even science graduates for eligible for 45 days professional skill training program. Here we give training for taking up entrepreneurship in all the areas, including food processing, value addition, and horticulture, nursery, and livestock, and all the areas they will do. Over the years, almost 73,000 graduates were trained across the country. Out of them, almost 43% of them, roughly 30,000 of them, they are in the field. They are doing one and the other agribusiness activities. But many of them, 10% of them go for the dairy or livestock sector, but food processing over the 20 years, our data shows that only 1.6% of them, they went for food processing. Maybe very, very discouraging figure, this one. But over the years, may not be last few years, it may not given that much importance. They may not be having the technical expertise, and people are afraid to go for this industry. That's why we see last 18 years, we have seen only 1.6% of the people went for the processing and value addition, even though it offered a lot of opportunities. Even bank loan, it was linked, and there are 44% subsidy for women and SC/ST population and other students, and there are general 36% loan was there. Even 5% need to, they can come together, they can start any industry, they can get 1 crore project worth of money bank loan, and there 44% no need to pay for women. 5 members are coming together, or generally 36% like that. It was linked, but over the years we've seen 1.6%. But apart from this training program, we are running across the country. There are a lot of nodal training institutes, agriculture universities, ICR institutes, large number of NGOs. We will do this program. Even today, almost 7,000 agri graduates, including few science graduates, we will train. Almost 7,000 of them every year we are training. And this is the one program we will do. There are different type of activities they will take it up. Here, that was the food processing industry, 1.6%. But last 3 years or a few years, we are doing agri incubation. There is a managed center for innovation and agripreneurship. We've seen the lot of agripreneurs are doing good across the country. Our records, it is 42% are successful. Among them, at least 10% of them really doing very great work. It is comparable to big industries or medium or big industries, small scale industries like that. Many of them, even somebody giving the advice to the livestock sector, entire value chain, they will concentrate. At least 1 lakh farmers they are reaching. It is a huge number. Some of them they will do. Even some farmers in northeast part of the country, fishery sector, they will reach few 10,000 or 100,000 of farmers they are reaching. There are at least certain percent of them, they are doing exceedingly well. And here we started to support them to take their next level. We started ACAB's incubation center like that, something like 5 years before we started. Then we were the partner for the RKY Raptar as a knowledge partner for the entire southern part of the country for taking up agribusiness and startups in the southern part of the country for the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare for the RKY Raptar program. Here we will see the change, entire change. Even though traditionally the agriculture centers was promoting small scale agribusiness, agripreneurs, but it is not really taken up much. But here it come with a grants program. RKY Raptar started with the grants 2018 with the 25 lakhs grants for the already those who are in the field, those who are showing the minimum viable product. Economically they are returns are they are showing economically they are viable. For them up to 25 lakh rupees, there is a grants program, and 5 lakhs for the any ideas it is coming for. It is worth to ground in the field. We will select, and 2 months there is an internship program, and this 5 lakh and 25 lakh program started in 2018 across the country. There are 29 centers are operating this RKY Raptar agribusiness incubation program for already startups, those who are doing good for 25 lakhs grants, and those who are coming with innovative idea 5 lakh. Here we see the a lot of change in the, especially the food industry. At least here 10 times more startups are coming in the agri food processing industries, and that we are suddenly seen, because earlier there are a lot of difficulty in getting bank loans, and also not much support, and policy environment may not be that much supporting the entrepreneurs to take it up, food industry or R&D, reaching the R&D institutions. But last few years, there are a lot of vibration and among a lot of enthusiasm among the large number of stakeholders, including the research institutions and government policy support. And also there is a financial institutions or grants program like that. There are many. That's why today we'll see at least 10 to 16%, 10 times more what we see in the 2018 on 2002 onwards. At least 10 times more food processing related startups are coming in big way. For example, one of our RKV Raptar incubation center at Hyderabad, millets, Indian Institute of Millet Research alone, every year hundreds of agri startups which are food processing. Only on millets, they are incubating more than hundreds of startups. They are coming. Many of them, they are doing really good. Even other 29 centers, the food processing industry doing very good depending upon the incubation center. For example, another we have the knowledge partner. We are knowledge partner for Kerala Agriculture University. There, if you see, their engineering department has a lot of technologies, food technologies, mostly vacuum fried chips or many other technologies. They are having the food technology. There are large number of traditional bamboo chips, banana chips, or jackfruit chips like that. All they concentrate on export. They are coming in the big way. Many of the Kerala Agriculture University startups, whatever they incubate, they will come in the food processing sector because there is an agriculture engineering department. They are giving a lot of emphasis for food technologies. That's why there are a large number of startups. Majority of them there, if Kerala Agriculture University or millets, if you see millets, 99% all come with food processing in millets, except one or few come for the millet instruments and machinery, something like that. Differently it will come. In Kerala, if you see, almost 60% of the startups will come in the food processing industry. Here, there is a support, there is a technology support, there is a funding support, and there is a people to take it up. Other network partnership they are giving this incubation center. That's why wherever there is a favorable environment, there are a large number of startups are coming. Managed like it's a management institution. We don't have any technology on food, but still 10 to 15% of the startups, they will come in the food technology. Generally, we will connect with other institutions, ICR institutions or other food processing institutions. There they can get the technology. We will give only support for the scaling up and branding or other things, whatever business planning, other things, whatever needed, those type of support we are giving. And these startups also comes in the different areas, starting from millets or organic foods processing, and in livestock also, livestock, fisheries, and all the areas we are getting. But some of them quite interesting. Some of the startups come in the very traditional area, something like mushroom. Many times we feel mushroom is generally everywhere, but something like mushroom value addition, there are quite interesting startups are with us. They will come with innovative idea. They will make it mushroom become new product after processing. They are doing that one. Apart from that, tapioca, cassava, what you call tapioca related, there is a startup from Orissa. They are doing very good. The traditional tuber crops, which is not concentrated much, those type of technologies they are taking and coming from. They are taking technologies from ICR Institute, Central Institute Tuber Crops Research. From there is a regional center Orissa they are taking, and other support they are coming to us. Apart from that, we will see large number of biofortified millets or even milk they are coming. They try to, or something like herbs or something, they will try to find out some biofortified items in the different areas that also emerging in the big way, and our startups are coming. Other things, these areas, there is a millet beverages, there are millet based, some of the interesting, there is millet based, there are minimum health drinks, maybe slightly alcohol. There are interesting traditional, for example, northeast part of the country, large number of food processing. Traditionally, they have the rice beer or traditional beer they are having. Similarly, millet based, some health drinks are coming, maybe with slight alcohol. There are beverages are coming in the big way, and coconut and oil form. Large number of startups are coming this traditional area where over the years we are using the traditional crops in the even our traditionally in the villages. Those things are not taken care much, and today our startups are reviving in the big way. These type of startups in coming in the big way. Like this large number of startups, like 29 centers, even RKV Raptar alone, at least every year 500 to 600 startup we are funding. Out of that, at least 20% of them coming, because some of the institutions very specific for the food processing, like IIMR and some of the institutions, Kerala, many startups are food processing related. At least 15 to 20% of the startups are coming in the big way. And recently also managed, we had the study on agri startups. Today, if you see large number of licenses are taken, it is indirectly indicating large number of food tech based startups are coming and they are going for the licensing. And that we conducted a study in 6 states, and recently we published only brief of that one. It shows that there is a very positive atmosphere across the country, including policy environment, funding, and other stakeholders research. It is making a lot of difference. With this, I will stop, and any more questions, I will take it up. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much for your broad view that you have given on the manage. I had the privilege of visiting your institute, and a couple of times I participated in a couple of meetings there, and I interacted with all the students who came for the training. And also when I was at SafetyRI, in collaboration with you, with the manage, we conducted some of the training programs. So, but specifically, it is very, very heartening to hear from you that a lot of nutrition products are coming in picture, and the numbers of startups are increasing despite COVID. So that was a very, very good news to hear from you. But is there any specific thing on the COVID to address the issues of COVID itself? Any startups have come specific in nutrition to address the COVID issues? Just I'm curious to know.
Yeah, yes, sir. Not necessarily COVID, but generally many of the startups are come with a lot of health benefits, because today's lifestyle is something different. The new this entrepreneurs from IIMs, IITs or engineering colleges, many they will come, they try to encase this one. Many they start claiming for everything they have secured, cancer to diabetes to pressure to everything. But we won't believe in everything, but we will go for. But no, there is a lot of enthusiasm taking the traditional food so that our life or people's life will be better. Like that, no lifestyle disease they want to provide, not only for COVID, but generally many of them they claim millets. No, first they will start with only these things. And many of them going to medical or doctors, they are going, and their clinical trials they are doing. Interestingly, they are testing with a large number of other patients with millet, other or fortified foods. No, very quite interesting things are happening, but no, they need to have the robust database when clinical trials, and where they are claiming for nutritional aspects. Always we look forward for the institutions which need to give validation. That's what. Otherwise, there are a lot of quite interesting startups coming claiming many things actually. That's especially to cure the lifestyle diseases. Not necessarily during COVID also, food has got the lot of importance. Healthy food got the lot of importance from the large number of population consumers. And that also driving big way, especially millet, other things they are driving. They are developing different model to straight away reach the consumers. That also happening. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And another thing you mentioned, Manage is helping them in the brand image building for the startups and MSME. I am very much curious to all the viewers, to you to tell the viewers what are the help, what kind of help are the thing that we are Manage you are doing for the brand image, because ultimately it is the marketing that is most important. How well they sell themselves, how they'll sell their product, that is most important. So what is the Manage doing in this aspect? Please tell us.
For example, generally they will associate with any government's programs or ministries program, or with institutes like Indian Institute of Millet Research. Generally, the institutes itself, there is a brand for many of them consumers. There is a credibility or trustworthiness coming because of the institutions. For example, many of the millet products, it is tested and supported by the Indian Institute of Millet Research, Indian Council of Agriculture Research. That itself makes the brand something different actually. Then wherever they are reaching to the consumers, those who are aware about the institution like Manage or ICR institutions, really they can make it. Apart from that, many are taking the logo of RK Raptar government logo they will take, because there also there is a credibility image comes from government. There is a tested, there is a validation, and like FSI certificates, other things we are having, those type of thing. Otherwise, we are connecting with the brand. Today, people, the way communicate, it makes the brand actually. That's why we connect with a large number of our own mentors, and they will try for the individually specific, depending upon the stakeholders or the market segmentation, they will try to brand it their own products to whom it's supposed to reach. For that, we'll support with large number of mentors. They will take individual product wise or individual startup wise, we will do for the taking their brand in next level. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you. It is heartening to hear from you that a lot of push is there for the startups. That is from the Indian side, a lot of government schemes, banks, everybody is contributing to the good ecosystem. But I'm curious to know how about the angel investors overseas? What is their interest in food processing sector in the country, especially with respect to startups? Please.
Yeah, there are large number of angel investors. In the name of angel investor, many they are there, sir. Even today, yesterday and today, we are having the investors meet. There are angel investors, and wherever they are, it is not only food products. Wherever they have the business opportunities, they are coming. It is not necessarily something food products or even supply chain management or something like IoT or blockchain related, where they can make better business. Some startups really comes forward. They can move forward, some startups, and they can gain better income. There they are trying to invest. I don't see the angel investor only specifically targeting on particular segment. Wherever there is an opportunity, wherever there is a startups can make the big income or big returns, there they are concentrating, I suppose. Otherwise, large number of people are emerging in big way. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But I know in general there is a foreign investment. I'm little bit curious to know about food because we are all ambassadors of food processing in the country.
Sir,
Yeah,
food always is the important commodity globally also. Something like organic, very tested, and even global markets, there is some of these angel investors are coming to take branded. For example, from Theni, banana goes to across the world. There is a lot of interest in this type of something residue-less. For example, one of our startup, eco rice like that is making. It is not organic rice, but he makes the eco rice residue-free rice actually. That has the global traction actually. People are coming globally, they want to take. There are some investors want to invest because the quality consciousness makes them to get the proper raw material for the food. This especially eco rice or something like that is coming up. Really, it has the importance because everybody anyway need to eat. Then angel investor also coming for those type of things to put with better standards, better quality parameters. There is a lot of opportunities for getting the funding. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Last question for you. So many of these startups are graduating, they're successfully exiting and they're graduating and flourishing into unicorns. So in IT and other sectors, definitely there are several. I would like to know if you have any in your database, you have information. What is the scenario of food sector? How many startups have grown big into unicorns?
I don't exactly data, sir, because we deal with all our startups are very small, agripreneurs, and our startup 300 startups also not.
Okay.
But our motto, instead of growing them big, and we see that they need to serve more for the farmers and farmers network. But
True.
NinjaCart or Cropin and many, they are agriculture. Big Basket, many are, they might be growing in the big way, and they're already doing very good, many of them.
Yeah.
Even some of them, they are going 5 million farmers or 3 million. They are moving some of them, Cropin or Big Basket, or many are doing it.
Yeah.
Not really our own startups.
Agreed. So Big Basket has a lot of big players coming in there. Tatas and Narayana Murthy. Several people are interested in supporting Big Basket. It has started from Mysore itself. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Sarvan, for giving us a good overview. Thanks for your time and views. So now we'll move to the next speaker, Dr. Anantaram Krishna. So he's the director of ISCPT, who himself is a scientist by all qualifications, and also now he is a manager for the science at this institute. So I want him give his valuable views on food processing, the way forward for in the country. Dr. Anantaram, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It is again a pleasure to speak in front of you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. But next maybe 15 minutes, I'm going to give a brief view about what is the sustainability strategy for the food industry. What is the role of R&D institutions like IFPT, NIFTM, and CFTRI, so on and so forth. And look at the Indian food processing sector. It is really growing. Last 3 years, the data, if you look at, is growing very phenomenal growth. And almost 5 years, we maintained a more than 10% growth rate. And even the pandemic situation, one sector in India is not shown negative growth is the food processing sector. And even ready to eat, ready to cook product has grown more than 35% in this sector. That's what this is the uniqueness of the sector, and it is a continue to drive. And people are looking after from the other country where they predominantly imported from our neighboring country. They're switching over from that to our country, and our Trade Promotional Council and APIDA we wanted to capitalize these markets, that neighboring countries market, and really we are doing good and we wanted to do better. Why? Because of our produce. Phenomenal growth rate. If you look at a dairy, number one, marine and fruits and vegetables, this time even we crossed that higher than the food grains capacity of what is a more than anticipated growth. And two things is coming into here. We can produce more, but same time, if you are not utilized, we have to store. Storing itself is the put a lot of pressure on the government side. So we need to value added. And we need to process. If people are not using that, we need to do other things. We can't keep it the stored product in our godowns or the fruits and vegetables. It's very difficult to do that. That's what the processing is come into play. And we have the two segment in our country, and India is the world's second largest MSME sector. And earlier our food processing sector, MSME, has come under another ministry. Now food processing industry, Ministry of Food Processing Industry, is taken the very serious about micro food processing enterprises. Why? If you look at the whole value chain or supply chain, the farm gate one side, and that it varies with the different state to state. Like some states, like for example, Rajasthan and other states, they have the mandis. There only most of the trade is happening. There is some storage structures are there. And some places they will trade and they goes to raw material to the your entrepreneur, then they will go for the processing line. This is the what it is happening, but lot of missing links are there. We need to connect all these links. That's what PMFME scheme also floated to keep in mind. For my view, how to make it our industry, food industry, more sustainable. One is the raw material availability, including the water. That is the key element. And second one is just now Dr. Raghav sir asked about the market demand and the consumer preference. Now, most of the things is driven by the consumer market. It is not like earlier days. If consumer likes that product, will suits not even days. And the technology upgradation, waste utilization is the another area. Research has to go on that. And sustainable supply chain management. That's what I said. The whole supply chain management, somehow around we are not looked very detailed into that. We need to see that how to make the sustainable management of the whole supply chain, because loss is happening there only. Almost whatever we produce, the grains, 10% loss is happening either the storage godown or the supply chain, and the nutritional security and the regulations. These are the 6 points we need to look very closely to make our industry more sustainable manner, and R&D play the really is the good role here. We need more food. 2050 world is going to be reach around close to 9 billion. We need a 70% more food. Where we are going to get? And whatever the right now available water is only 3% of water is only used. We need 80% more is required if we increase the production level. And 1.3 billion tons of the food is wasted. But India is small in the wastage of after process. But wastage is happening in the field and storage godowns and the transport. But other than that, this waste is very, very negligible after they made the product. So we need to look in the two categories of outside the country, what is the happening in the food waste, and inside the country, what is happening that. And look at, we are doing it, like I said, the initial slide, we are doing a phenomenal production. But what is the world trade of our producers? For example, take the fruits. Our world trade is only 1.2%. Very, very less. Look at that Spain. 8%. Italy is 3 to 3.2%. They are small countries, can do bigger trade than the India, but India is producing the world number 2 in the fruits and vegetables. Vegetable also the same scenario, 1.6%. See that Netherlands is a 10% the world trade on the vegetables. So why we are unable to do bigger business in these countries, and where these countries are doing the business, we need to look closely and we need to see that how best we can increase the trade. And we have again meet the same story, but we have done good at our grains, 28%. This is the what is the base for us. We can able to do the 28% in the grains market. Why we can't replicate that in the fruits and vegetable or the meat and spices? We are the world number 1 and we are the leading world leader in the trading. So this is the baseline. If you look at this is the what we are doing the business and how we can do the business of the processed food. I'll give the only one simple example here. 2017, the whole Europe is whatever the imported the biscuit worth is 3.7 billion. out of which India's contribution is only $1.2 million worth. It's a less than 1%, 0.003%. Why? We produce like almost 270 lakh tons of the sugar, 100 million tons of the wheat. We are unable to convert this wheat and sugar into the biscuit, which suits to the European market. That's what we are lagging, and the technological input, what type of biscuit, what is the taste perception, and what is the packaging solution that Europe consumer wants. That is the input our R&D institutions and the research and development organization has to supplement to the our industry. And this is the one is very clearly stated. We need a more food. And even grains, whatever we produce 280 million tons this year, it's not enough. We need a 400 million tons of the food grains when our population is going to be a 150 crore populations. Not only food grains, is almost the same scenario in everywhere. But we need to look this raw material availability and how to make it a consumer preference. What they discussed just now is every September we want a new mobile phone, new models, new updates. So in food also like that, people want it customized. I want, this is the amount of the nutrition, this is the amount of the protein. People want it, and they want different product value, and then convenience and taste, ethical food choice. See, I am an ethical person. I follow all government of India norms and regulation. Why not that what I eat, the product also prepared in the ethical manner, no child lab, less carbon footprint. If ethically they prefer, I will go for that. Recent study in the US, out of 10 people, 4 people wanted to buy the product and ethically prepared, they declared it. So brand taste, it has moved on to everywhere. Food also is nowhere left over. And I give some statistics which are the areas we can look into that. One is the Sonic enhanced food. Food itself, food business itself, you can get it maximum of 10% profit margin. Normally it is a 5%. The huge competitions and the volume is very large. So in such case, if you wanted to increase the profit margin, you have to make it a value-added product. One such is Sonic enhanced food. When you eat the food, the sound also comes. The low bass sound makes the things more bitter. Recent study in the UK, when they they deliver the fish along with the seashore sound, 3 times increase the intake of the fish by the consumers. That's what Sonic enhanced food is, play the role. And market demand on the plant-based meat analogs. This is the what, right? Like 2012, that's our Beyond Meat has started. Recently, PepsiCo signed an agreement with the Beyond Meat to develop the meat, alternative meat. Can we get that on? And even IFPT, we have started working. We are doing the good thing here. And we want to texturize the protein and to convert into the alternative protein source. And we can make it in the meat like a structure and texture. It's possible to do. We have the 2 technologies. One is the shear shell technology and the spinning, and we are using both the technologies at IFPT, and we developed an exclusive 3D food printer to create such type of meat. It's possible to do, but only thing, what is the range and what is the water and other flavor, how we are going to do, how we are going to convince the customers. Another one is the lab grown meat. Take the stem cells from the animals, grow the meat at lab, and 2013 itself, hamburger has been released, such type of things. Now, this is the meat market continues to grow. You can see that 15% growth rate we could able to witness in this segment alone. And other than that, we can reduce the carbon footprint when we are switching over from the animal meat to this type of plant-based meat analogs. Another one is the milk alternatives. Not only here, I can say milk alternatives, protein alternative itself, we need to look very closely. When whey protein 30 years back was very cheap, now whey protein is not that cheap. It's a costly affair. Because of people wanted to use whey protein because PDCAS value is 0.8 is really good. But now demand is increased, whey protein cost is increased. We have to look after which is the alternative protein. Can we get the protein from coconut? Our Raghuram sir has done a lot of work on the coconut. Can we do the rice protein, hemp, chia, oat? Can we convert this into the milk? Because selling that liquid system is always the good for the producers because you are selling the water, but problem is here is how to create that natural emulsion here. That's a great challenge. We need a lot of R&D. Nano emulsions you wanted to go, what is the ionic strength you have to create, and what is the surfactant alignment you have to keep it in the each bubbles. That's the big thing you need to look. And then insect fruit, some people may not agree for this, but we have to look after alternative protein. If you want 1 kg of the feed, 10 kg of the feed will produce 9 kg of the meat in the insect in the compared to the 1 kg in the animal. That 1 kg of the animal will give only 52% of the protein. In case of the 9 kg of meat in the insect will get 72% of the protein. Grasshopper already we are taking in India. A lot of places they're taking. Why not? If we are not taking in India, at least can we develop the protein source from there, which is the country they eats from the insect? We can give the supplement. Such a way we need to think for looking after the alternative proteins. The research has to go. And superfoods, people wanted, out of 56% of the people wanted to buy the product called as a so-called superfoods. Green tea, coconut water, turmeric. Turmeric is smuggled recently in Thoothukudi airport because that immune boosting. People are talking about that, but we don't have the data to claim that. That's what some of the products taken out from the shelves recently. But yes, turmeric, black garlic, chia, hemp. Hemp, people are telling when I take the hemp seed type of the product, I feel pleasure. But we don't have the scientific document to claim that. But still, people taking and increase because of that omega-3, omega-6, the combination and the ratio what is present in the hemp. That's what people are going. Quinoa and millet is continues to grow. And that are the areas we need to think how best we can make the future foods. And the technological upgradation, always we have to look. One such technology, you can think about the 3D food printing. Can you make the miniature of the food industry into home? That is the what 3D food printing. And we have brought the first India's 3D food printing paper. And we not only we are stopping that, we developed the indigenous 3D food printer machine. Already we have 2 variant of the machines we developed. Like this, whatever you can give the feed, it can be printable. We have done a lot of work on that. This is the multi-hit 3D food printer is totally developed at IFPT. We can give the feed what are the shape and size you want, you feed it, and the printer will print which are the whatever you are feeding that. But only thing which is the one you have to convert into the printable form. That is the one is the key element we have to think. But we need to convert. For example, rice 31% waste, millet you have the 28% waste is generated. Can we convert this waste into the printable form? That's what one should look at about that. And we have done the 3D printed snacks. One is that mushroom, we have made it. And we made the chicken with the mushroom. Chicken does not have the fiber. Can we get that fiber from the mushroom? In addition to that, you get the protein as well. So we create that snack and we made the different flour and we created the snacks with the 17% fiber, 10% protein type of a product we brought. But people used to say that share is not that high. It's very difficult to print when fiber is increased, but we could able to do that 17% fiber in the 3D food printer. Another area, if you look at high pressure processing, supercritical fluid processing, pulse electric field, ultrasound, cold plasma. Cold plasma IFPT is leading on that. We developed a lot of cold plasma system at IFPT and irradiation. These are the areas one should think. And already we established the Center of Excellence in non-thermal processing. All the equipments are housed at IFPT and it's going to be kept up. Second one is that food structure. This is the one R&D has to go a little bit more on that. We never look the product after the sensory evaluation. We need to see what is happening in the oral tribology. What is happening in the oral processing? After that oral processing, what is happening in the digestion, the stomach, motor functions, then it goes to the intestine. These systems are available throughout the globe, the dynamic stomach systems, intestinal TNO system is approved by FDA, but apart from that, other systems are also available. And we develop our own system and we taken the MRI images of the human and first 3D foot printed stomach has been created by us. And right now we have housed and you can see that this is the stomach. And even we have only 2 articles, Goni et al. And other one articles are there for the calculating the GA. And we have come up with a new method to develop the GA, that reduce the enzymes usage and other things, and we validated with the human. This is the what glucose response, human as well as what we created the dynamic stomach system at IFPT. And now most of the industries in India is using this one as first. Not only you get the glycemic index, you get the disintegration kinetics, all the inputs, whatever the required to develop the novel product can be done. But we need a lot of research into that. We have stopped the small industry and need to go on the large industry. Research has to be focused a little bit more here than what is that. But advantage of this system over the other system, you need to change, depends on the protein and fibers. But here no need to change anything. We can do that. And I said one thing, most of the research in our country, we neglected the supply chain management. We need to focus more on that. That's what 1.3 billion tons of the food is wasted. How to reduce it? One idea on thought process is, can we use artificial intelligence to AI to reduce it? The target is that 1945 can be reduced to 10%. It's possible, but we need to know the data. The data play the role here. How much food is wasted in which region, or what is the wastage, how to use it. So that data is available, then easy to play around that. And packaging, another solution, we need a lot of research into that. For example, that unique edible cookie coffee cup. You have the cup, drink the coffee, eat the cookies as well. That's what people are now developing, that products and biopolymers, edible packaging with the nano fibers and other things. So these are the areas we need to put a lot of effort, because India's 40% of material, single-use material, is from food packaging material. We need to develop biopolymers more on that. Can we use the cellulose with the other starch and other things? How to make it this is the most sustainable, more strength and barrier properties. And IFPT is working on such type of visible stores. Like small entrepreneurs, they can't afford to have such a high-end research, because if you take it in metros, 30% of the sales is happening in these supermarket. In tier 2 cities and other things, 10 to 20%. People, when enter in the supermarket, where your eyeball is going, that is the key element to track. Can we track that one? So we created at IFPT the visual stores. When you enter into the store, and you can have the eye tracking, and based on that, you can see what it helps. I like some color, white color or blue color. My son likes something, my daughter likes something. So according to that, where to place, it is the place to be a third shelves or middle shelves. All this play around, get the data and map. And real data also can be collected from the some of the stores, can be used to put it into other stores. So such type of data analyst, along with the modification of the packaging solutions, can we go this product for the bottle? Can we go for the PET bottle? Can we go for the Tetra Pak? All these things can be calculated, can be analyzed. This is data mining, and these are the work. It is needed more research has to be done here, because this type of software development is a very cost averse. Because University of Australian University is doing a lot of work on this, and we need to work a little bit more on such type of research in India. And nutritional security, I'll come to the last segment. One is, if you look at the life expectancy, India is right now 62.5 compared to other countries. For example, Japan, some place people used to live more than 100 years. Why we are losing almost close to 30 years in our lifespan? One is our lifestyle and the nutrition. If you look at the absorption of micronutrient, except selenium and vitamin C, all the micronutrient absorbs less than 50% here. Look at iron, only 10% absorbs. We need to look how to increase this absorption 10% to 30%. That is the big challenge in front of us, because we are, most of the states, almost 30 to 50% of our populations are anemic. And one solution is nanotechnology can give. Reduce the particle size less than 500 nanometer. Absorption may go almost 100%. Like you break the particles, smaller size particle, you increase the surface area. That means it stays in the intestine longer, and absorption will increase. So for example, green tea catechins, the one such molecule what we invented is really good. Per cup of the green tea, you get only 10 milligram of the catechins. If you make it a nano size particles, you will get 100 milligram of the catechins. That's what it is. And we developed the technology, electrospraying technology, to produce that one. And regulations, if you come, already most of the countries, they enforce higher taxation on that, higher salt, higher tax, higher sugar, fat. So we need to think, FSSAI also is given the guideline to do that. And we have done some studies on the salt. We just, because people used to do that potassium chloride and sodium chloride combination, but acceptability in the consumer level is very, very low. So that's what we used, only a sodium chloride to manipulate the surface modification, increases the perception of 60%. And for my opinion, these are the four technology definitely is going to be dominant in the coming years. One is the waste utilization and IoT based technologies for low carbon footprint, big data analysis, ANN and blockchain management. Because traceability is coming to the play. That means you need a blockchain. But how many of us we develop, the institutions has the system in place to develop these such softwares? That's what we need to look at, waste utilization. And HPPS is very old, but still India is not adopted very well in the HPP process and frozen food and vacuum frying and freeze drying technology, salt, sugar technology, alternative technology. These all will be dominant. We need a more research into that. And again, these are the 5 broad products. Definitely is going to be a future market. When you call it as the non-GMO immune booster, people are wanted to buy. So how to make it such and how to make it that claim is a scientific documentation. That's what research has to be focused into that. Foods with a specific health ingredient like antioxidant, omega-3, probiotics, all these things to be added to sell that product, and plant-based diet that's dominating. Really, it is picking up the market, and ethnic foods and exotic foods. These are the foods definitely going to be a future foods. So we need to work a lot into that. Our vision wanted to make India as the world food factory. That means we need to connect all the dots from the farm gate to the processor and the traders and that all APMC and everything. And definitely that will be help to make India as the world food factory. Thank you so much for the once again to listen to.
So thank you, Dr. Anantharam, for the really energetic presentation that you have given. But I have a few questions. So it is true, all that R&D role you have beyond doubt what you have projected, that is so much at our hand that is to be done. But in spite of so much push is there from the government schemes and the state level, if there is R&D support, in spite of all that, why is some of the, they are still remaining as a individual driven rather than system driven. For example, PMFME. Unless the person like you are taking a lot of interest, or some of the IAS officers in the states, they are taking a lot of interest. In other places, things are not moving. Out of all the states, I could see only hardly few people are utilizing these schemes. Where is the lack now?
Can I just interrupt? I'm sorry. We have another speaker left, sir, and we are running short of time. Could you please,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
maybe we
Okay.
can come back to question and answers later on. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the last question. Yeah, please let him complete. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. It is the what you said is correct. If your personal interest is there, we can take it to the field. But PMFME, what I understand, it's picking the now, and most of the states. And recently, we approved the 60 incubation center throughout the country. Maybe once we started this one, people will come forward to utilize the type of facilities like other places. So hope things will change. Like you and me has to do more in the fields instead of sitting in the lab. That's what I felt after come over.
Thank you.
Hope
Thank
so.
you.
Take care, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Once again, I thank you for your energetic presentation.
Thank you.
So
very much.
now, thank you. We have the last speaker of today, Dr. Sanjeev Majumdar, Manager NRDC. So NRDC is another sister concern that have been strongly associated with CSIR system for quite some time. I request Dr. Majumdar to give his views. Dr. Majumdar, please. Hello, Dr. Majumdar.
Dr. Majumdar?
Hello.
Dr. Raghuram, maybe you can go ahead with the question. I'll just call Dr. Majumdar to check his connection.
Yeah, please. So I'll continue my conversation with Dr. Anantharam for the benefit of the viewers. Yeah, another thing you said, yes, I totally agree with a lot of technical things that you mentioned. But there is a general criticism, like CSIR labs, a lot of scientists are they are not solving the problem that needs to be solved, and whatever they solve, they are remaining on the shelves. How you are addressing at your personal level as a manager of a science at your institute, and what are the suggestions in general for the scientists how to overcome this criticism?
Yes, sir, that we don't know. When I was working under you, at CFTRI, and when we are in the CFTRI, we think what we are doing is good for the science, for the country. When I moved to IFPT, when look at when we go to ministry, I've not got the same type of comments has been given by the people. Then I realized we need to do lot. It is not like we have to solve the problem what the country is facing. So that is the one thing. Second thing is uh, it is a difficult to suggest up. What I did in IFPT is I stopped the individual person to start their research. One objective, like for example, onion problem, you have taken whole institute, including director to the student has to work only on onion that year. Solve all the onion processing problems. The whole year we have done. We made it the onion mission program and made the onion processing unit and everything. It is yielded very good result. That is the basis for the PMFME scheme itself. That's what they wanted to create the same model for throughout the country. So like that, if you make focused one, everybody works on one problem to solve, like how model is it will work. But another side, we may lose scientific documentation. PhD students can't publish. Such problem also we need to balance. So one side we wanted to solve a real societal problem. Another side, what is the science needed, the basic science and that things we may lose it. So we need to balance it, but it's very difficult to balance it, sir.
True. But how at personal level, I'm surprised in spite of being an administrative role hat also you are wearing, how you are still active in your R&D. So that could be a real suggestion for many of the scientists who are working all over the country in this area.
So whatever it is, the director post is for 5 years. After that, I have to go back to my research only. This will comes and go. Whatever we contribute, what yourself or me, that's the administrative one. But we can't forget. That's what you taught me when I working in the lab. Research is our base. We can't forget that one. So I continued till date every day 2 hours I minimum spend in my lab, and after the office hours I spend with my students only. I never forget like what you have done. I'm doing it the Saturday. I'll come to lab, sit with the students because.
Can you try Dr. Majumdar again? We can see his mic now.
Yeah, I'll try. Thank you, Dr. Anantaram.
Thank you,
So
sir.
now let me see.
We have 5 more minutes, sir. Maybe we can continue our discussion. If he's there, we can take his views for like 4-5 minutes. Or else we can conclude the session at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, I will. Dr. Anantaram, you are still available or you are any other engagement?
Yes, sir.
You can continue. Okay. Yeah. So please tell us, our viewers and listeners. So what is the paradigm shift that you are witnessing already, or we envisage in the near future around the corner?
Yes, sir. That's what I initially itself I said. In processing, even we try to convince the top political people to the down. That's the one thing as a scientist, a technologist, we need to convince. Yes, today what happened in the our pharmaceutical industry, they can use science as a tool. It's not like only armed force. That's what we are exporting all the vaccines and other things. Can be food also like that, because food is the highest amount of the producers. We don't need to store this much amount of the food grains and all. We can process, we can sell it. The best model you can see that Vietnam has done for the sugar, coconut sugar. Throughout the globe, they are business in the small country. That Thailand has done. So India has the time to come to Trade Promotion Council is doing a lot of studies on that. We are focusing on some particular countries and how to capitalize the market using our connecting to our product into the market. That's what that value chain project government is looking into that. They wanted to give a lot of subsidy for such type of products. So for example, millet. They have the millet like a cannot fix the norms, which maybe 20% or 30% millet into the product, you will get that some type of from tax benefits from the government. Such type of boost is happening. Now people are convinced food also has to be taken care as the third level. That things is going to happen. So everybody down the line will get the benefit out of these policy changes. Like for example, PMFME 10,000 crore and value chain project 10,600 crore. That much money is dumped into the food processing sector. It's never happened in the earlier days. So definitely this will help our Indian institution, researchers, micro food processing and the large industry. Everybody will get benefited, and the trade, what the objective is to create the world food factory, like we have done the world factory. The same thing can be replicated on the food side, and hope another 5 years time we can achieve, sir. Once we achieve, definitely that will help longer run for our country, sir.
But still, our consumer preference is different. It is not accustomed for going for the processed food. So whether minimal processing also should be addressed at one end of the chain compared to the high-end processing at one side. So what is your take on that?
Yes, sir, you are correct, sir. Simple washing and grading and other things. That's what even the PMFME scheme, we requested mandis to go for that. Even we are not asking the individual people to apply that. Even mandis can apply this scheme. Take that, just you, whatever the store in your mandi, short, grade, pack and sell, instead of the bulk material of selling that. So that type of thing also we need to encourage, and we need to support this point of time. Wastage is generated, some the quality is lower grade, then you can go for even processing. So such type of advice and all we are doing. We are planning to put AI into this line. So that's what I said. We need to map throughout the country where is the produce, how much stored, and what is the wastage. Everything once we try to map, then easily we can do that downline, sir.
True, that big data processing and collection and monitoring it and analyzing it is a really big task. I appreciate. Thank you once again. I hand over the thing to Dr. Vibha. Thank you once again for giving me this opportunity. Really, I was the beneficiary. It was a very, very learning experience today. Thank you once again. Thank you all my speakers.
Thank you, Dr. Raghav Rao, for moderating this session. And I would also like to thank all the speakers, especially Dr. Sarvana Raj and Dr. Anand Ramakrishnan ji, and our another speaker, Dr. R. Kumar from DRDO. So I would like to thank all of you once again.